The chair would,
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So move to approval of the agenda as printed.
is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as printed. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkwood?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving into recognition.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. At this time, we'll call on Ms. Ebony Walker, our Director of Media Relations and Community Affairs, to lead us in our special recognition of two very, very special employees.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight we would like to recognize two employees for their fantastic service in the Hickman Middle School District. The first is Leah Schmidt. Leah is Director of Nutrition Services and has been with the district for 22 years. Leah was appointed the president of the School Nutrition Association. Myself and a number of Leah's colleagues had the honor of seeing her take office yesterday morning, actually, at SNA's 67th Annual National Convention. The other is Darla Swain. Darla is our cafeteria manager and has been with the district for 11 years. Ms. Swain received the Louise Sublett Award of Excellence. This award is considered the highest honor a school nutrition manager can earn. Before I turn it over to Dr. Myers, I'd just like to say that these are national awards, and we're very, very proud of the way Ms. Swain and Ms. Schmidt are representing our district at a national level. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for your service. It's a great honor to have you. Thank you. Congratulations. Charles.
Thank you. Thank you.
Moving into audience comments, please stand, state your name, and you have 2 minutes to speak. Are there any audience comments at this time? Thank you.
Take a picture of them real quick. Okay, I wanted to, my name is Heidi Woods. I'm the principal at Smith Hill Middle School. And I wanted to thank everyone for Project Shine. It took place last Saturday. It was a very much needed facelift and the building looked so good. And some of you were there and a lot of you guys were there and the counters look very. Thank you. But I also wanted to let you guys know that our theme for the year is Soaring with Pride. And thanks to the help of Link and Dr. Myers, more than he even realizes yet, just kidding. And the two churches that really helped a lot were Turning Points, and that was Pastor Kevin and Pastor Tim, as well as St. Luke's in the community, so we want to make sure that we give them a little shout out, and everyone that came and helped. And I can tell you that I wish I had my camera then, but you were bent over the sink and you were just completely covered with sweat. And he didn't leave, he just kept painting and painting, and I can't tell you how much that means to us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other audience comments at this time? With no further comments, we will move into the superintendent reports.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We'll begin with our curriculum and instruction report. Dr. Skinner. Just for the benefit of the audience, this is our regular session meeting, and we've instituted work session meetings. So this meeting, you will probably find that things are going to go pretty fast. The way that we're organizing ourselves is that the work session is when we really roll up our sleeves and delve deeper into the topics that are that we need to address here in our district. So what you'll find here is just any additions or any building on questions that may have been posed during the work session meeting, and things will go pretty fast. So if you want to really see the inner workings of our school district, I would encourage you to attend our work session board meetings. Dr. Skinner may have some items to add to our CNI report.
For the CNI report, there was really, the only difference was I did notice a typo on before. I had a couple of these backwards. I had C as far as the technology and learning systems and the instructional technology titles backwards in the report and the work session. You see they've been switched now. And that's really the only addition that has happened in the report itself.
Enrollment and attendance report.
The enrollment and attendance report, as pointed out by the board, there was a mistake, and we looked through it one more time and we found one other mistake, so there were a total of 2 mistakes that were caused by basically cell alignment when we were doing the calculations, and they have been corrected now. One was on Burke Elementary, it had said 12.62% as far as the rate change, and if you look now, you can see it correctly reflects a 4.60, and the other one was for the day school. The day school was at a negative 27.85%. And if you look, now it is at a negative 1.46%. That was a huge difference. Yeah, it's amazing what a stroke of a couple keys make. And those were the only additions or changes to the report.
For the benefit of the audience, we are looking at one of our priorities for the coming year has to do with our ability to improve in the area of student attendance. So you'll find that each month during our work sessions, we're going to be looking at our proportional attendance, and that's the calculation used with 90% of students being present 90% of the time. We want to see how close we are, and we want to see how close we are in terms of reaching DESI's benchmark of the 90%, and whether we're progressing or whether we're on the floor, and kind of tracking that progress throughout the school year.
Mr. Chairman, there's 2, and I think Dr. Skinner addressed them both. So I see the action for curriculum instruction report and enrollment and attendance report. So you want those separate?
We'll take the whole superintendent's report.
Okay. We'll just
Okay.
wait until we finish the whole.
Okay.
There's nothing to add to our summer school reports, and we'll look at our operations report. Dr. Myers, do you have anything to add?
I can stand here. Actually, nothing really to add to it, just a little update. We talked briefly in the last work session about potentially maybe coming as an emergency situation to get the air conditioning unit fixed at Baptiste. We currently have a 60-ton unit that is not working, and kind of patched it along for about 4 or 5 years now. Based on a cost analysis to repair it, wasn't going to be done for about 4 weeks anyways, and the cost to repair it's about 1/5 of the cost to replace it. So we are going to go ahead and proceed with getting some bids for a brand new unit instead of patching it along again. I think we spent enough money on that unit. We're going to go ahead and get some pricing for a new unit. So that's the only thing to update.
And we have not decided yet, Mr. President and board members, but this does have implications for our new teacher orientation. And I know we've been in conversation this week. We have a call cabinet meeting tomorrow in which we're going to look at location, because that probably rules out Baptiste for new teacher orientation. Financial report. We did not have this report as a standard procedure. This will be a part of the work session agenda, but Ms. Wiltsey was enjoying some fun in the sun, so she's back, and we'll call on her for our financial report.
Our financial report, this is what the numbers look like at the end of June. With our fund balances, ended up with 17 million for our total fund balance, but 2.3 of that for the debt service. So, and if you go down to the next screen, it's the cash statement, and it just basically reflects all the cash that we have in checking, and it also balances out to that 17.4. And this is we're changing financial statements that look completely different next month, but since this was for June, we went ahead and just followed with what we had done last year. So
Okay.
received an estimated assessment from the county. The correction made a $30 million difference in our assessed valuation, which will decrease the district revenue $1.9 million. So we are looking at having to do some other things. So I figured, I didn't do a new sheet, but I figured that would take us from 9.1 to a very high 6.8, 6.9. What we're budgeting right now.
6.9% reserves? Okay.
That's based on the numbers. Things are going to change, so that's at the balance sheet that we had the last time. By putting that into that, just that aspect of it, it took us down to about 6.9.
You said it's gonna be a reduction of how much?
1.9 million, 1.9 million, $8,879.
And that's from Jackson County.
That's not our final assessed valuation. That'll come end of August, first part of September, but I don't expect it to change a lot. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Oftentimes there are bills to be approved alongside this report. I don't see that as part of the agenda.
We put those in the consent, like
Sure,
we always do.
they're there.
Okay.
And what we'll be doing, they will be coming to the work session from here out.
Thank you, Ms. Wiltse, for ending the superintendent's report on such a high note. I say that jokingly, but for the benefit of the audience, what she's referring to is our assessed value here in Jackson County, and what we're seeing is a decrease, $30 million in assessed value, and that equals $1.9 million per year for this school district. So we have a 3-year perspective that we're keeping our eyes on. Ms. Wiltse is in the process of updating that, and we'll bring it to the board as a part of the financial report next month. But once you carry that 1.9 million out 3 years, you're talking about $6 million lost over the course of the next 3 years. Because our assumptions are only based on what we know, no more, no less. And every time that information changes, we're gonna keep our eyes on it. So we'll have that for the school board in the coming month. Not good news. That concludes the superintendent's report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So moved to accept the superintendent's reports A, B, and C.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the superintendent report, sections A, B, and C. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkwood?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving into adoption of the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So moved to accept the adoption of the consent agenda. All items from 7.1 to 7.17.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept, approve adoption of the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.17. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkwood?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to new business.
For new business, we'll call on Dr. Skinner for items 8.1 through 8.6, I believe.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
I do want, before I start, if it's okay, there was one minor thing that I wanted to address on the report, the curriculum report. The board had asked a question about homeless grant differences. I do have that information. In 2012, when we had received the 88,800, at that time we had a district enrollment of 6,120 students. We had 83.10% district free and reduced lunch, and we had 16.8% county poverty, and there were 222 participants. For this past school year, when we received the 147,600, which is a difference of 58,800, we had a little bit lower student enrollment of 6,052, a little bit higher free and reduced lunch of 84.2, county poverty was up significantly, 10.4% increase to 27.2%. And the number of participants jumped to 369. So I did want to go ahead and share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So on board item agenda item number 8.1, the superintendent recommends approval of the renewal for support for Infinite Campus. This is our SIS, our student information system. Infinite Campus was adopted for almost 6 years now, and the cost is $55,300.
You doing them
Yeah,
singly?
we'll take it.
Mr. Chairman? Are we
Yes.
doing this singly all the way down? So moved to accept the report from administration to renew the Infinite Campus contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the cost of the annual renewal of Infinite Campus, which is our student management system. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkwood?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 7-0.
Next item, number 8.2, the superintendent recommends the approval of purchase of ongoing learning plan and the Delta Healthcare Service with CIC, which is Computer Information Concepts, with Infinite Campus. They are our support for Infinite Campus when we have issues, problems, and we need support from any type of fashion. They are to our rescue, so to speak. This is a program that we have not had in the past, but if you look, basically what this does is it will allow some visual on the job training. It's going to be through a video concept. It's going to help us with more accurate reporting, and because we're going to be reporting more accurately, we're going to get better information out. This is going to help us with our state reporting as well. This is the whole purpose, if you look toward the bottom, is basically to increase productivity and accuracy of the district, state reported student data. You'll see that the data health check is $1,533, and the ongoing learning plan is $3,072, plus there's a one-time fee of $300 for the proposed total expenditure of $4,905.
Is this the one for the renewal of the, all of the e-solution contract?
No, ma'am, this one is a new expenditure we've not had in the past. This is basically, we have had Infinite Campus for several years now, but there's so much more that we can do with Infinite Campus if we know how. This is a learning tool to help us utilize it better and more efficiently and more effectively and accurately. So that is what this is. It's going to give us some support so that when we actually do say that there's a 97% something, blah, 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 97% is accurate. We don't have to say, well, it was put in the computer wrong, but this is going to help us with that process.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So moved to accept the superintendent's recommendation for the support products for the Infinite Campus program.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for approval of the ongoing learning plan and data health check service for use with the Infinite Campus student management system. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Curls?
You may not be able to answer this question, but maybe Casey or somebody else could. Do you know why we are just now being presented this and why this hasn't come forth before, if this is going to be a tool that is going to be helpful to us? And we've been needing help for some time now. Now all of a sudden we're finding some of this help. Is there any reason why all of a sudden now?
I'm going to allow our Infinite Campus support person to speak to that, because she's the one who did the research on this, and so she can kind of give you better background, Mr. Crowe.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Bickford, and I manage the Infinite Campus product in the district. And the Data Health Check Service is a custom script that the CIC Computer Information
Education Concepts Company writes and provides. And it is something we've only had available for 2 years. And so we've been working towards what's the necessity, how will this benefit us, and what other school districts in the state that are using Infinite Campus have seen as a result of utilizing the product. And we do believe it would be beneficial. So that's why we've moved to go ahead and ask for that product. The ongoing learning plan is a new piece that just came out last year, where they record the webinar sessions and make them available as needed rather than a per webinar price structure. So it is more cost effective to do the ongoing learning plan, so you don't have to pay each instance you want to do a video. You can go anytime and you can continue to revisit those as we have staff that turn over, come on in the middle of the year, especially for that non-certified, the classified level staff at the building that's secretarial and doing our data entry, so we can better support them. So that is a newer product from CIC.
Thank you.
Mr. Townsend?
Says initial training of coordinators. How many coordinators are we gonna have that are gonna be trained in this?
The district will make that determination. That's just people that coordinate the product. So I'm one person who coordinates the product, and then the CNI team can make that selection as to who other people will be working with that are gonna work with staff on how to get in and out of the web tool. It's not new positions.
No, I'm not worried. I mean, I just don't want it to be one person. Yeah, like it's just one person, and God forbid you get hit by a bus. Now we
I'm not looking forward to that.
and now we don't have anyone that knows the system.
We can pass the microphone on. We have other individuals in the district that do support the product besides myself. I'm just the main contact person. But thank you for your consideration.
Paint a good picture.
Mr. Osmond?
It's my understanding that Infinite Campus has a campus portal mobile app. Do we know what the stats are as far as how often that's utilized, both by teachers and parents within the district?
It is not available for teachers. It's not an app for teachers. It is a mobile app only for parents and students to utilize, because the teachers have a different interface that they utilize for Infinite Campus, and there is not an app for that at this time. But the portal app that is available is for our parents and students. And we do have some data statistics. We can see how people are accessing that product. It's just one interface of many. We can see if they're accessing it through a gaming system, a computer, a mobile device.
Okay. Is the support that we're voting on right now, will that actually help? Will that transfer some knowledge to allow the parents to have better access to what their kids are doing at school?
What we're purchasing now isn't necessarily going to directly benefit the parents as in a piece that they can access, but it will benefit them through the staff becoming more aware of the tools and the ways that they can make information available. Campus has new features for teachers that allow them to post assignments online. Students can enter those assignments through the portal and then be graded directly, so they don't have to issue a worksheet and get the worksheet back, grade it, and put it in. So they will be able to access training in that fashion. There's new assessment pieces where teachers can input assessments, the students can take them through the portal, and then the teachers will learn how to do that through these video tutorials without having to wait for us to find time to set up a training. They can do it independently on their own. So yes, it can benefit the students and the parents for information, but it's not directed for the students and parents.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Ms. Mims?
And of course, you know I've been with you from the beginning of Infinite Campus. Can you share so they will understand the very important piece that I found that has brought dollars maintained when we centralized our attendance, and it goes to one particular area so we can stay on top of our numbers?
For our centralized registration?
Yes.
Well, so our centralized registration process, which is coming up August 2nd, 3rd, 5th, and 6th, and you can download your applications on the web if you'd like to pre-fill those out before you come to registration. That process is ongoing, and this is our 5th year of centralized registration, where families can come in to the Hickman Mills Junior High. They can complete all their paperwork, update their contact information, provide additional emergency contacts. They can get their students registered for school, get their badges, schedules, all kinds of items, and they're ready for the first day of school. And with the exception of Ruskin High School, they come to one site. They do not have to travel all around our world. And it is a great benefit. Last year, we were able to process between 4,600 and 4,800 students within 4 days. And so that was amazing for us. That was our highest amount of participation.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sorry.
Okay.
None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Kirkwood?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Skinner? 8.3.
New item, 8.3, the superintendent recommends renewal of Blackboard Connect in the amount of $15,500. We had a current contract for a 4-year agreement which ended, or it's actually about to end July 31st. And basically what this does, it's kind of like a messenger that will provide a phone blast for emergency or non-emergency information out to the public, including our, when I say public, our community as far as if they're enrolled in Infinite Camp. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. Actually, maybe Infinite Camp is on this one. And I say that and kind of hesitate because if you notice, this is a 1-year agreement. It was a 3-year, and we modified it to a 1-year. And you know, if you notice, the cost has decreased from 3.25 to 250 per student, and that's how we get our total. However, we did a 1-year because we would like to explore possibilities of what Infinite Campus can do to the upcoming school year. So that's why we only ask for a 1-year renewal of this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to approve the superintendent's recommendation on the renewal of the Blackboard Connect in the amount for 1 year, $15,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent recommendation to approve the renewal of the Blackboard Connect contract in the amount of $15,500. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 8.4. Dr. Skinner.
On item 8.4, the superintendent recommends approval of renewal of contract agreement for the Rainbow Center for Communicative Disorders. The Rainbow Center is a day school program with intensive therapeutic educational programs. It allows the students to develop their fullest independent functioning potential. The students range in age from 3 to 21, and they're basically for special need and behavioral disorders. Currently, we have 5 students participating in this service, and the tuition for each student is currently at $2,484 per month. And that amount may fluctuate a little bit depending on the services needed for that particular student for that month.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to approve the superintendent's recommendation for renewal of the contractual agreement for educational services through the Rainbow Center for Communicative Disorders for the 2013-2014 school year.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the approval to approve the renewal of the contractual agreement for educational services through the Rainbow Center for Communicative Disorders for the 2013-14 school year. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 8.5.
On item number 8.5, the superintendent recommends approval for the renewal of contract for the multi-district deaf hard of hearing program. This program is a cooperative program sponsored by neighboring school districts. It provides educational support services for all students who are deaf or hard of hearing. The purpose is to assist districts in meeting the requirements of IDEA and other state requirements and regulations, including student evaluation, development of IEPs, assistive technology, and support for school personnel. Currently, there are 29 districts that are involved in this participation. The amount, which is based on every district's resident enrollment, basically from the October Infinite Campus report, is $8,447.95.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to approve the superintendent's recommendation for renewal contractual services through the MDD-HHP for the 2013-2014 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent recommendation for the renewal of contracted services through the multi-district deaf hearing hard of hearing program for the 2013-14 school year. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe, aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 8.6, Dr. Skinner.
On item 8.6, the superintendent recommends approval of installing 2 new smart boards with LCD projectors. These would be based in Truman Elementary, and this kind of tags on what we talked about during the work session. This was in lowering the class sizes. We found that 2 classrooms were without, and we wanted to make sure that, again, every child has access to this technology. Therefore, we do need 2 smart boards, 2 LCD projectors, and the price for everything, including the cables, installation, hardware, is going to be Schiller's Audio with $6,498. And you did see that we did get 3 bids. They're following this, and Schiller's was the lowest bid.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to accept the approval of the superintendent's recommendation for installation of 2 smart boards and LCD projectors.
Is there a second? I'll second it. It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept superintendent's recommendation for the installation of 2 new smart boards and LCD projectors at Truman Elementary. Is there any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe, aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 8.7, Dr. Carpenter.
Sir, Mr. President, we'll call on Dr. Myers for items 8.7 and 8.8. Dr. Myers?
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, on 8.7, we have the superintendent recommendation to the purchase of a new Ruskin Stadium sound system not to exceed $35,050 from Progressive Electronics. This project was bid back in the end of June. Bid opened on July 9th. It had a mandatory pre-bid meeting, so we only had established 2 qualified bidders based on the requirement of pre-bid, which was Progressive Electronics and All Systems. There was a wide price spread between the 2 bids, so our architect, Mark Spurgeon, verified that Progressive was providing a quality sound system and that the products met proposed specifications. One of the things on the base bid you'll see was $25,000. That was not reflective of a mandatory $10,000 contingency fee. So the actual bid you're seeing here of $35,000 is that's the reason, from that additional contingency money. The system that they're recommending is a 4-speaker system, one that I've seen in place before. Progressive is a quality company that does very good sound work and has done work in the district and around the area with other districts, and it's come strongly recommended. The timeline for this project from award is about 30 days to get the equipment in and proceed.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to accept the recommendation for purchasing of the new sound system for the Ruskin Stadium, not to exceed $35,000 from Progressive Electronics.
$35,050.
$35,050. I took my glasses off, okay?
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent's recommendation to purchase a new Ruskin Stadium sound system for a price not to exceed $35,050 from Progressive Electronics. Is there any discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe, aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 8.8.
Under 8.8, the recommendation from the superintendent is to recommend the approval of asphalt repair to the Johnson Elementary back drive lane for $12,300 from Grandview Paving. The back drive lane has approximately about 1,500 square feet. This surface is failing due to the delivery vehicles and trash containers. The bid reflects the removal of the failed area and replace it with a solid 10-inch asphalt surface. Grandview Paving bid is reflective of replacing all the damaged area and verifying the subgrade before placing that 10 inches of asphalt on it. This was an internal process where we requested quotes from 3 companies. You see the bid tab attached. Grandview was $20 higher than the lowest bidder. We have a history with Grandview Paving, and they've done a good job in the district. So we felt they were the most responsible bid based on past history.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
so moved to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the approval of the asphalt at Johnson Elementary Drive, back drive lane for $12,300 from Grandview Paving.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent recommendation for the asphalt repair to the back drive lane at Johnson Elementary for a price of $12,300 from Grandview Paving. Is there any discussion? Mr. Townsend?
Did anyone ever look at like concrete for that? I know it's more expensive, but with heavy trucks, how long is this asphalt?
Well, that's part of the reason we're going with the 10-inch versus some people will put in 4 to 6 inches. That's why we requested the 10 inch, because it's more reinforced. And it's actually, it's on a downhill slope, and then it's another area where they're turning their wheels, which is a typical area of failure. One of the things we have done before is put concrete right in front of the trash areas. But this is a whole drive lane down and turning, so it would have been probably cost prohibitive. But the idea for concrete in certain areas is a valid one.
Any other discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend?
Aye.
Mr. Curls?
Aye.
Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe? Aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Moving on to 8.9, Dr.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. For item 8.9, I'll call on Ms. Norris. While Ms. Norris is coming forward to present the superintendent's recommendation, I do want to recognize the members of the district's insurance committee who are here with us tonight. If those members wouldn't mind standing for a brief second. Any teacher or employee in the audience, you probably want to give these people a very special round of applause. They work countless hours to really look at our insurance program. And it's a difficult situation, especially when you look at the financial projections in our school district. So we've delayed making a decision, we've gotten more information, we've explored other options, and I think we've come forward with the best recommendation for this point in time. And I'll allow Ms. Norris to move forward with that recommendation from yours truly.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. The superintendent recommends approval of Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City Health Insurance with an 11-month agreement from October 1 through September 30th, 2014 for agreement secured by a 7.5% increase for the 13-14 school year with an option to renew for the 14-15 school year with no changes in the rates or the plan designs. And to give you just a bit of background, requests for proposals were sent out and open to the public for bids. Aetna, Humana, Coventry, and Cigna declined to even make an offer or to bid on this because of our history. United Healthcare came back and said that there's not much that they can do to even justify them making a group rate. We did search out, and Blue Cross did respond, and we even went to working with the pool. We considered proposals from them. We met with them on several occasions, and that was Cooperating School Districts of Greater Kansas City Self-Insured Pool. And they proposed several plans to us. We went back and forth, and the group did take a considerable amount of time in reviewing those plan options and proposals, as well as doing independent research is what was being offered. And finally, we came to the conclusion that Blue Cross of Kansas City came back and said that yes, they would allow us to do this with a base rate of $579.21 per month. The district pays $518 towards any plan that an employee selects. And what we're doing is we are preparing ourselves for the upcoming change that's gonna take place in January of 2015. We were saved by the bell with that delay, and we are hoping that this proposal will be accepted to allow us to see how we work with Blue Cross and we explore wellness options and take some additional steps to create a healthier environment for our staff by encouraging them to implement wellness tools that are available to them, while we're working with Blue Cross as well as exploring other options throughout the year. And as Dr. Carpenter said, the group did have a very difficult decision to make, and this was very much a compromise of the plans, proposals that were available to us as a whole, and they looked at the greater good and the long-term benefit to the district from a financial and a health standpoint for the staff, and which does directly have that impact on our student achievement. And
I have a question. You already answered, because I was getting ready to go about the wellness program to see if that was gonna be implemented. But my next question is, did anybody look at dental and eye?
Yes, Blue Cross's plan does include $10 copay for an eye exam.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Anderson.
Ms. Norris, am I reading correct that the rates that the employees pay did not increase, or are not going to increase for next school year? How will the employees be affected?
We have to look at that. We have not determined yet the split on that, but it is an overall 7.5%. And as I stated, the district will pay up to a maximum of $518 per individual plan, regardless of the plan that they are selecting.
So the employee rates for next year, the employee portion has not been determined.
No, it has not yet been determined.
But if an employee takes the base plan, that plan amount is less than $518, as I recall. So if they take that plan, then there'll be no additional burden on the employee. Am I correct in saying that, Ms. Dickinson?
There are five, my name's Amy Dickinson, I'm the developer.
Yeah, you can come
With
up here.
regards to the plans,
And here.
She is.
Could you state your name just so everyone can hear you a little better?
yes, my name's Amy Dickinson, I'm with the Dane Hasley Group, the insurance broker.
Thank you.
The Hickman Middle School District currently offers 5 plan options to their employees. So what Dr. Carpenter is referencing is each plan is priced for that plan, and so there are some plans where if the district makes a standard contribution, it will affect employees based on which plan they select. There certainly would be a plan, the lowest rated plan would have the least effect or out of pocket to the employee with regards to a premium contribution. That plan may have more out of pocket with regards to co-pays or deductibles or accessing the care.
Dr. Carpenter, but this is the one that our staff chose.
Yes, this is
Okay.
the plan this is the option that our insurance committee,
Okay.
they talked about, we went back and forth, and ultimately, it was unanimous in terms of this election for the coming school year. I did go back after the recommendation was made and ask for one caveat, and initially, we were talking about a 2-year commitment. But if you notice, we did negotiate there in the last day with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and this is gonna be an 11-month or 1 school term agreement with the option for the 2nd year. And that option would remain at the same rate with no changes in plan design, and that was agreed to, thus the recommendation put forth.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So move to accept the superintendent's recommendation and their committee, our wonderful committee, to accept Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City's health insurance with 11 months from October 1, 2013 through September 30th, 2014. Agreement secured by 7.5% increase for the 2013-2014 school year with an option to renew the 2014-2015 school year with no changes to rates or plans designed.
Is there a second?
One second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board accept the superintendent recommendation to approve Blue Cross Blue Shield of Kansas City Health Insurance with an 11-month October 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2014 agreement secured by a 7.5% increase for the 2013-14 school year with an option to renew for the 2014-15 school year with no changes to rates or plan designs. Is there further discussion? Mr. Osmond.
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I just wanted to find out, so it says 11 month, but it's got October 1st through September 30th. My counting seems to be that that's 12 months. So is that?
That's 12 months.
Okay. So is it an 11 month? Are the dates wrong, or is the number of months incorrect?
Yes, so the dates are wrong. The contract will go through. The district requested the new contract to start on September 1st date. So this will actually run through August 31st.
Okay. Okay. Also, I wanted to find out, so tell me what starting base rate of $579.21 means.
That means that's the employee-only rate. So there are different tiers that employee may select: employee plus child, employee plus family. And so the $579 is the employee-only rate.
But if I understood, there was an option that was below the $518. Is that incorrect?
I don't have my glasses.
Wow, Mr. Duncan's done his homework again.
As I mentioned, Hickman offers 5 plan options to employees that can participate in an HMO, BIA, HRA, and HSA or PPO. And so the rate for the HRA is $492.41 for the employee-only rate. So that would be a situation where the amount that the district contributes on behalf of the employee would be less than their own employee-only rate.
Okay. And the $579, that base rate, is that per year, or is that per month?
That's per month.
Per month, okay, so, so for the dollar value that the district is contributing, we're looking at about $65 difference about that between what we, the district, pay and what an individual would pay as one of the lowest base rates, about
Yes.
$65 a month.
Yes, so I would concede to Ms. Norris saying that, there has not been determination on the district's contribution.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I mean, I know that this is a difficult situation for everyone, and this is one of the most contentious issues regarding our budgets for the last year, how much it increased. So it's not an ideal solution, but thank you for everybody for working it down to 7.5%.
You're not alone.
With the discussion about the dates, should we amend the motion to just state the
From September to
2013-14 school year and 14-15?
In the
So if you'd like to
14-15,
amend
I mean that.
And Dan, I think you.
No,
or
it was
Mr.
Byron.
Do you, okay. Well, no, we're just gonna do
We're just gonna say
2013,
2013, 2014, no months. Okay.
All right, is there any further discussion? None seen, we'll call the roll. Well, sorry. Oh, okay. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Townsend? Mr. Curls? Ms. Mims?
Aye.
Mr. Osmond?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe, aye. Motion carries 6-0.
Mr. President, I just want to say that this allows us to meet open enrollment timeframe, the open enrollment timeframe that's ahead of us. But for our employees who are here, I'll go ahead and say on tomorrow, as soon as tomorrow, no later than Monday, we want to get these plans on our website so that employees can begin looking at these plans because they are different. They're not the same plans that were offered last year, so we'll post them on the Human Resources website and you can begin looking at these plans and making your determination even prior to the official beginning of open enrollment. There are some significant differences in plan design that you might want to begin taking a look at.
Okay. Thank you. Agenda item 8.10. To all. Start time for the board work sessions. There are many faces that were at the work session this month with the board members as we started taking on a new process to go through the consent agenda. Dr. Carpenter and I talked. One of the things we noticed with the 7 o'clock, we started about 7:15 start time, was that we ran about 2 hours and 15 minutes, which kept people here to about 9:30. Knowing that in August we'll get our preliminary results from DESE, and going forward we're going to have data to review regarding student achievement and how programs that we're using are working, we thought it might be prudent to change the start time for the board work sessions from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. That way if they go 2 to 3 hours, people are getting home to their families at 9 o'clock versus 10 o'clock in the evening. So we wanted to have some discussion with board members about if people were in agreement with doing that, and take a vote to change that if that is the will of the board.
Well, Mr. Chair, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
We move to 6 o'clock.
That's right. I was gonna second. I was. Thank you for stepping on that one.
Good discussion.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the board amend the start time for the work sessions from 7 p.m. in the evening to 6 p.m. in the evening. Is there further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Oh, sorry.
I would just say, Mr. President and board members, that in the unique circumstance that we need an executive session, that would need to begin probably around 5 o'clock or 5:30, given a 6 o'clock start time. So that's just one thing to consider, but I don't think you'll get any gripes from administration by changing the start time to 6 o'clock. But I just wanted to note, if in the event we need an executive session, for example, I'm thinking about the month of August, we have about 14 positions left to be filled, and we want those filled before the start of the year. So probably on the August 5th meeting, we'll need at least a 30-minute work session. So a 30-minute executive session. So we'd have to have that starting at either 5:30 or 5 o'clock to get that done prior to a 6 o'clock work session start time.
Oh, okay, I understand that, okay.
But that won't be every time.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's, the plan is to generally keep closed session for the regular board meeting on the third Thursdays, except for emergency situations where the board might need to take action on important items before that time. Any further discussion? None seen, I'll call the roll. Mr. Anderson. Aye. Mr. Townsend.
Aye.
Mr. Curls.
Aye.
Ms. Mims.
Aye.
Mr. Osmond.
Aye.
Mr. Lowe, aye. Motion carries 6-0. Moving on to agenda item 9 we'll just say upcoming meetings. July 29th through August 2nd is going to be a new teacher orientation, which I'm sure Dr. Carpenter would like to speak more about.
I'll just bring your attention to the new teacher orientation. Again, we were looking at the Baptiste Center, and I don't know if that's going to be amended or not, but we'll have that finalized. But on July 31st, all board members, 8 a.m., I'm sorry, please don't come 8 p.m., 8 a.m. If you're available, we'd like you to come in and be introduced to our new staff for the coming school year. Also, if you look at August 8th, that's our district convocation, and that'll begin at 8 o'clock a.m. Again, board members, we'd like to see all of you in attendance, and I think we have a very special convocation being planned. And August 10th, our back to school rally from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and that'll be at Hickman Junior High School. Please mark your calendars there as well. It's a busy time of the year, but it's an exciting time of the year. I think we're really getting geared up for the start of a new year. I do want to make a couple of comments before I turn it back over, Mr. President. Project Shine, I know we've heard from Dr. Wood, but that was just awesome. It was awesome to see the community turn out and just see the enthusiasm in terms of helping us with a facelift, if you will, to one of our schools. And the persons who were there, almost to a person, shared with me that if there's any time we want them back to help us out, they're willing to come back and do so. So we want to thank those individuals, and we'll probably do that more formally during our applause section in an upcoming board meeting. And if you were not there, you missed Mr. Lowe up on the ladder painting, and so that was real good. He did a fine job. We appreciate it, Mr. Lowe. One other thing I want to mention, are there any teachers here who have participated in benchmark planning for the coming school year, whether that be English language arts secondary or mathematics secondary or elementary English language arts or mathematics. Just raise your hand if you participated. This is an awesome undertaking, and I know that there's a sentiment out there that it's a lot, but I don't think that we have time to look at the implementation of a new reading series and not really have an accountability or benchmark measure in place. So we'll have those measures in place again so we can gauge our performance and not just wait until spring to say we hit it, we missed it, or we kind of hit it. We want to be talking about that throughout the school year. So I just want to publicly thank those teachers who put in the extra effort and the hard work to participate in those sessions, and it's been rewarding. I have more confidence as a superintendent in teachers than I do in a textbook. I'll just say it publicly. I believe our teachers know the work, they know the standards, and their development of those common assessments are going to put us further down the road than working from the standpoint of those textbook developed publications that are just that. They're developed for the masses and not our individual teachers. So let's give them a round of applause. Another item we've mentioned to the school board is the development of our one-year blueprint, and we're working on that feverishly even as we speak. And Mr. Clapmeyer is taking the lead with formatting and those pieces, and we're looking at those 8 priorities, and we're building those action steps that would go along with the priorities. But we wanted to have that for the work session in August. And the more we've looked at it and we've talked about it, we can have certain components ready, but to really look at the full accreditation piece and the academic achievement piece, we need to wait until our results come forward from DESE. And as best I understand at this point, our board meeting, of course, our work session is on August 7th, but we won't get our preliminary APR from DESE until August 9th. So getting those data in August 9th and then being able to scrub them, if you will, and turn in corrections up until the 20th or the 19th, I think, we don't need to build a blueprint without those data. So what we're gonna need to do is spend the month of August with that data in hand and then build our blueprint, especially in those 2 areas, based on the data that's coming forward. Even the attendance piece, that information will be coming forward. So we're gonna need that data, and instead of putting together a good plan in the month of August, we want to put together an exceptional plan in the month of September. So that's something I wanted to notify the board of, because I know in previous communication, we talked about August for that blueprint. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the board. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Do any board members have comments? Mr. Curls?
A couple comments, Mr. President. One is I noticed on the agenda we do not have the informational section where we used to have an opportunity for board members to add things or bring up things that they might want to discuss at future board meetings. So I would like to see that added back to the agenda. The second thing is I also noticed that there was a second audience comments at the end of the agenda as well. I don't know if we are leaving from that or what's going on with that, but those were 2 items that I see omitted from the agenda. So just had some concern about that, and if there's something going on, I think that needs to be shared with all the board. Then the third thing, I just shared with Dr. Carpenter. I thought that we were going to be using electronic voting this month, and I see that we have not achieved that goal yet, and I'm going to continue to bring that up every meeting until we get to that point.
Thank you, Mr. Curls. As it relates to electronic voting, we have 2 board members that we want to get geared up as new board members to participate in electronic voting. And there's some conversation about logistically how that's going to take place. So yours truly has asked that's in place no later than the regular session next month. So we're going to hold ourselves to that deadline. As it relates to board member comments and audience comments, we will have those on each and every meeting, beginning with audience comments beginning and end, and we'll have board member comments at the conclusion of each and every agenda. Thank you.
Mr. Townsend, did you have your hand up? Anyone else? Mr. Husband?
The last item here, the back-to-school rally. I understand that we switched that from 3 Trails Day to the back-to-school rally. Probably because of budgetary reasons, we scaled it back by about 1/3. It may be too late this year, or it may not be, but have we looked into getting local businesses to help chip in and maybe bump some of that money up so that, they can help participate in getting us back to school.
Absolutely. We do have some participation even in this year's meeting, and this is kind of the format that we put together. But I think we've gotten a donation of $750 to add to the $3,000 budget. For the benefit of the audience, Mr. Osmond is referring to a neighborhood grant that used to be in the amount of $10,000 for a full-blown 3 Trails Day parade and that kind of thing. But that's been scaled back to $3,000. And we've also solicited a donation of $700+. So that's where we are this year.
To echo Dr. Carpenter and Dr. Hyatt Woods, I want to thank everyone in the community, board members, administrators, and teachers and staff that came out and helped with Project Shine last Saturday at Smith Hale. It was a great experience, cleaning up and refreshing that school both inside and out. It was really tremendous to look at the courtyard to get cleaned up, the front of the school grounds, trees getting trimmed, bushes getting trimmed, you name it, people did it. And we truly appreciate it because it makes less work for the district and the staff to do, but it also gives us an opportunity to engage with the community, with people that we don't always see that might have questions about how we do things and what our goals are. And I know I received a lot of those questions, as I'm sure other administrators and staff and board members did. And so it was a fantastic opportunity to help share the vision for this district with people that we don't see on a monthly basis. I also wanted to remind people that the Missouri tax holiday is coming up for people who need to get school supplies or clothing for their kids coming up. It's the first weekend in August. So everyone take note of that. If there are no further comments, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move to adjourn.
Second.
It is, we are adjourned at 8:10 p.m. Thank you, everyone.